In the most holy name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, to whom all praise is forever due. We thank him for raising in our midst the promised Messiah and predicted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank them both for their perfected representative, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet my beloved brothers and sisters in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, it is such a pleasure and honor to be able to speak to you briefly tonight. And of course, we don't want to keep you long and upset the balance of what the minister calls in the upcoming Study Guide 10, group chewing, where we are digesting the Word of God. And of course, it's important for us to learn the 99 attributes of Allah. I was in a meeting with a small group of people, I think it was a research team, this summer, and in the course of that meeting, the minister pulled out a binder and he sat and read us every one of the 99 attributes of Allah, every one of his names. And when you hear it like that, it absolutely elevates your mind and spirit to another level. Now, looking back at Study Guide 9 and listening to the beautiful discussion in this circle, I was really amazed to see this again, that the name Rabbil Alamin, Rab, appears 960 times in the Holy Quran, more than any other attribute, which most times your mind would think beneficent, merciful. You know, Rahman, Rahim, because it opens up every surah, but except 9, but there's only 114 surahs. But when you think about it, our prayer, if you look at the first chapter or surah of the Holy Quran, Al-Fatiha, the opening, which it is said embraces the entire Quran, then we say, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We give all praise. We say all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. So we're giving all praise to him as the nourisher unto perfection and the Lord, the one in power over all the worlds. So anything we want and need, all we need to get it is him. Well, I need people. Yes, you need people who he is Lord over. He's the Lord of the worlds. He's over all of creation. And so first and foremost, when you think about it, as Muslims, we say that attribute not only in our 5 daily prayers, but we call on him all the time. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. So we're praising, we're giving all thanks to him because he is the source and supplier of all our needs. So as we move toward closing the first volume, 1 through 9 of this study course, 9, the number 9, and one of the sisters was talking about the life rotating and forming in the womb. And the question he asked here is, why is it that this name is mentioned so many times? It is because the evolutionary process toward perfection, which is the whole goal of life, that's the whole goal of his self-creation. And one of the meanings of perfect is complete. You cannot be perfect if you are not complete. So he says he creates us complete yet incomplete. And so there was a completion of a level of growth that took place in the womb. We completed a process with every stage of what we did. So we thank Allah. I heard the minister say a couple of days ago, and then I'll stop because we have a treat for you tonight. The minister said recently that we do not desire to assign another generation of our people to this rotten system. And we were talking in the coordinators meeting about the death and apparent murder of the Saudi journalist, who it is becoming pretty obvious that he was lured into the Saudi embassy in Turkey, where he was beaten, drugged, killed, dismembered. And as far as the man that sits in the Oval Office is concerned, so what? So what? America has, if the Saudis did this, because you can't criticize the so-called royal family. If they did this, his posture is, who cares? We have a $100 billion arms deal with Saudi Arabia. And we're not backing. That's money and that's jobs. And if they don't get the weapons from us, they'll get them from somebody else. All right. So it's time, beloved, on every level and in every way. And as the minister reiterated in his beautiful and layered message this past Sunday, where he talked about the need in all of us for forgiveness. Every one of us has done some wrong, but primarily it is due to the fact that we have been shaped and molded by Satan. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad stated, it is more important to teach separation than to teach prayer. So I can't stand here and talk about prayer and not say we need to get refocused on the Nation of Islam's #1 agenda, which is to separate from white people and to get out of a system, as he calls it, rotten, that is based in a doctrine of white supremacy. And so we're hoping, I'm hoping that, having heard, first of all, Minister Farrakhan talk about the experience that Brother Student Minister Nuri, Student Minister Carlos, Student Minister Ishmael, and I think Minister Troy, Student Minister Troy, and others had in the schools. And we had Student Minister Nuri and Carlos on my blog talk show last night. And brothers and sisters, when you hear, I mean, it brought tears to my eyes. When you hear the impact that they had on our young people in minutes, where they walked into an environment of savagery, chaos. Why? Why couldn't these black teachers and principals control them? Because you are still, even though you mean well, you have the mind of a slave, because you think white people are superior to black people. So you see your own children through the perception of Caucasians. You get what you expect. When a woman's pregnant, you don't say she's hoping or wishing. You say she's expecting. So when you don't expect nothing, you don't get nothing. That's why our lessons say we love the devil because he gives us nothing. We don't expect nothing from him because he's God and we're low life. Well, Master Farid Muhammad busted all of that. when he made himself known in Detroit, Michigan. And now we've come full circle. He was God. Detroit ran God out of it. They ordered God out. So we had to go up there so that Detroit could atone. So that Detroit can step into her ultimate destiny, which is to be the new Mecca. And when the Muslims in the history of the Prophet had to go to Medina, it was in Medina, Chicago, where they grew into Muslims. Spiritually. Then they went back to Mecca, and that's where they experienced great wealth. Because all that the devil says about Detroit is a cover-up. It's ugly, it's poor, it's crime-ridden. Run, run. They tell all the white trash, run, run. But the wealthy white people are right there. They're not going anywhere because Detroit remains one of the most prominent areas of trade, international trade in the world. And it borders Canada. It fits all of the prerequisites that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had for our capital. So we have to undergo this beautiful course, which is the experience of it is so beautiful. And I want to back up to the last study guide, number 8. And remember, we had the 4 units of study guide 8 of building the will. And we had learned through Sister Stacy that Sister Marcella had an experience that I think we would all benefit and be uplifted from hearing. Remember, we went through the exercise that the minister gave us to consider something that you have desired, no matter how small or large. Because someone said, I think in the circle, I don't know if it was in this circle tonight or somewhere, one of the believers said, I wanted something and I didn't want to ask Allah because I felt it was too small. But then I changed my mind and I asked him and he gave it to me. So he loves us. There's nothing too big and nothing too small. But the minister said, start with something small and use your will. So Sister Marcella, would you be so kind as to come up and share your experience with us? Thank you, beloved.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I'd like to greet you all in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. I was having a struggle with getting a vehicle. And for a while, my daughter let me use her car. And then she started checking me like, Ma, you got to get you a car. I'm getting ready to go back to school. I've got to go to work. And I won't be able to take you all. You and Jamila, where you need to go. And I was like, okay, I'm working on it. I'm living within my means. And she would tell me again, Ma, you got to get you a car. I said, Lord have mercy, this child. She said, you acting like you worshiping the spook god. I was like offended, like, I don't think so. She said, well, it takes work and you need to get you a car and you're not doing that. And I said, I am. So as we go along, I was looking for Brother Willie, who helped me get my previous car. But then I lost my car, helping out a family member. So I decided it was best to help him financially, hold back on my car, hopefully extend his life out of trouble, and that with Allah's help that worked. But I still needed a car. So when I came to study group, August 17th, Brother Robert handed me a practical application. And I said, oh, I want me a car. I need a car. He said, write down your desire. I was like, oh. I said, I'll write down, I needed a car. I wrote that down. No down payment, less than 50,000 miles, good tires. I had colors on it. I said a Sonata, but I really, in truth, in my heart, didn't know what type of car I wanted. So I told Allah to pick for me. So then Brother Robert gave me Brother Marcus' number and Brother Willie's number. And I called Brother Willie the next day, and I'm like, Brother Willie, I've been looking for you because I need a car. He was like, sister, okay, give me your information. I was like, wow. I was all excited. That was Saturday, the day after study group. Then Monday, I was still excited and happy. I'm like, I'm getting ready to give me a car that's coming along. But then Tuesday, I started having doubt. And fear stepped in. And I'm like, well, what if my credit's not good enough? What if I don't have enough for a down payment? And I started putting blocks up on myself. So then when I come to class, study group again the next Friday, Brother Robert was like, nothing happened? I'm like, nope. And I said, I had to be honest. I said, I got fearful. I didn't think it'll work out for me. He said, sister, you gotta have faith. And that's one of the first things on here. Be of good courage, be strong, be not dismayed. You can't have doubt and accomplish your vision. So I was like, okay, I got to do away with that. I'm not going to have any more doubt because I really need me a car. And that you said you must believe totally you can get it. And I said, well, I do believe I could get it. So then me and Brother Willie worked out the particulars. And then he offered me a car. That was like, no way. That is too far out of my budget, and I can't afford that. Plus, I got to have insurance. I said no. So then the next week came along, and he said, well, I'm going to get some more cars. I was like, okay. So when they came back, they offered me 2 cars, and I liked the 4-door. And then Allah started working on my behalf. I took that first step, and he started taking 2. And I needed a ride to get to the place. First they decided, they suggested, well, maybe you could take the Greyhound bus. So when I looked up Greyhound times, it was like 6 in the morning to get the bus to go to Ben Harbor. I'm like, oh, Allah, I don't know if I can do all that. It could take like 3 hours to get me there at 3. I'm like, who gonna get me to the bus at 6 in the morning? I was like, okay. I just kept praying. Then they said, well, we'll send a car to get you. I said, what? After we worked out the particulars, and then Brother Marcus called me, and it was so beautiful, and I could feel Allah's spirit. He said, Sister Marcella, this is a nice car. I was like, that's Allah talking to me. He said, I said, oh God, I don't have the whole down payment. So Sister Jennifer said, well, just call and see what you need to hold it. I was like, oh. I called him. He said, you need $100. What? I was like, oh no, I got to get this $100. Look, I was calling my sister. Look, I talked to the editor. I said, Brother Richard, they said, if I had $100, I can hold this car and get this car. What, sister? That's all? Come on. He walked me right over to the bank, took the money out. I put it in my bank. I called Brother Marcus. Brother Marcus, the money's in the bank. He said, okay, that's your car. I said, oh, praise to Allah. And then they sent someone to pick me up to drive me to Ben Harbor to get the car. So, and that's when I said, you don't have no reason to doubt anymore. Allah is showing you. He's in your corner. He's with you. Don't have doubt. Be in the present. Have your goal. And then I had looked on here and it said, you don't even have a word to go to strive after. I'm like, do I have a word to go? I'm thinking I do, but I really didn't. So after having gotten this car, I've started writing down more goals and things that I want to accomplish. thank you all. I leave you as I came, greeting you words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Another big, isn't that awesome?
Can we all give her another round of applause?